So the purpose of this video is to go over how to set up a practice coding environment where you can run your JavaScript code and see the output of it. So we're going to start off with this empty folder here. Now on Mac, you can just drag the folder over your VS Code icon and drop it. If you're on a PC, you can feel free to go in and just click the open folder part here and find your folder and open it. So I've got this folder open here. This area here is for your files. Now yours may have some other things shown like a outline or timeline, all this kind of thing. We just want the stuff that's in the basic Explorer up here. So you can even click the three dots and hide those things if you don't want to see them right now. So we have folders open here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little document icon for new file. Then I'm going to name this file index.html. Now, the reason we use index.html is because with most servers, when you upload a website, index.html is going to be your homepage. It's what the server knows already to just kind of default look for in order to open the page. So if we name it index.html, it works better with all of our things. Now, in order to get the boilerplate code for your HTML, you're going to put an exclamation point here, and this thing called Emmet will take over. Now, usually for Emmet, it's just going to pop up like this. It gives you a couple options here, the triple exclamation point or the single exclamation point. You can click this little arrow, and it'll actually show you what it's going to put in. So we're going to click the single exclamation point when it pops up, and that gives us this boilerplate basic HTML code. Now, we're going to create another file. We're going to name it index.js for our JavaScript file. And over here is where we'll do all of our JavaScript. So I'm going to just put console log hello world, just so that we have something in it. Now, you don't have to do that part. You can wait until you start writing your JavaScript program. Now, in order for these two files to work together, you really have to connect them and then you have to launch them somehow. Now, there are a couple ways to do this, but the connection part is very basic. So I'm going to, since JavaScript is a script that you're going to run inside of the HTML file, we're going to start typing script here. And you'll notice our Emmet pops up a couple different options here. We've got three. This script SRC one, it really takes care of all the work for this. So you hit enter and it's got you right where you need to be to put index.js. Now, you also notice when I start typing these, it shows me the file options here. So I can even just click this index.js and it'll go on and finish things out for me. Now, that is the basic amount that you need to connect these two. You don't have to go any further than that if you don't want to, if you're just running JavaScript and you just want to be able to see how it operates. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go over to this index, and you can see here that I'm console logging out my information. Now, what that will do is in the developer tools for either Chrome or Firefox, or even if you're using Edge or Safari for that matter, you can pull up the console and the developer tools for those different applications and you can see what's coming out. But we need a way to run this to where every time I make a change, it's going to pop up and just update for me. Because I don't want to have to wait or refresh the page or anything like that. So there are a couple of extensions that I will use. The first one and the most used is called Live Server. And you go to this button to get the extensions, then you'll type in live and it should be the first thing that pops up. It's made by Ritwick Day. It's got 39 million downloads, if that tells you how useful this particular extension is. Just about every developer I know has this installed. It's what we all use to pop up a fake server to serve up our website. So once you have this installed, the way you're going to use it is by either right-clicking on the file you want to open with Live Server, or by having that file highlighted and coming down here at the bottom to where this Go Live button is. We're going to use the Open with Live Server for this time. So I'm going to click that, and it has opened this web page here. And you can see at the top the address, this 127.0.0.1. That is the fake IP address for my fake server here. And then the 5500 is the port that is serving it. Now, if I look down here at the bottom now, that go live has switched to port 5500. If I want to close this fake server, I'll click on that and it will close that fake server, and no longer will this web page pop up. Now, you're looking at this and you're probably thinking, this is just blank. I've got no information here. How am I supposed to use this? Well, the reason you have no information is because inside this body tag, the only thing we have is the script. Normally, for a basic website, inside the body tags is where all of the information is going to be. So like if I put a H1 for a header tag and I put hello world right here, then if I go back over and I look at my live server, now it's going to say hello world right there. Now, if you want to leave it white, don't let it bother you. Just keep it white. You don't really need anything in this HTML file other than this index.js being linked up like that. Now, the way that I'm going to view my JavaScript when it runs in here, I'm going to make this half and half kind of, and then I'm going to go to inspect. I'll right click and go down to the bottom to inspect. And it's going to pop up the Chrome developer tools over here. Now, if you've ever had this pop up and you're not already familiar with what it does, you may have looked at it and went, that's stuff that I don't understand. I don't want to be in it. Don't let this area intimidate you. There are a ton of tools in here that you will be using in your development career. So the very first thing you want to know how to do, though, is to go to this console tab. When we go to the console tab, it will open up anything that has been consoled out, whether it's errors in your code that the developer tools are trying to tell you, hey, this is a problem, or whether it's something that we have done a console log for like this. So anytime you want to show your results over here, you just use the console log tag. Now, if I change this with live server running and I just take this world part off of it, as soon as my file saves, it updates over here. That's the beauty of live server. So when you're working on just like JavaScript, if you enable the autosave feature in VS Code, which in order to do that, you would click this gear and go to settings here. And then inside of settings, you'll look for autosave. If you start to type in auto, you get all these automatic things that pop up. If I search autosave, I get this. Now, I have mine set to after delay. This delay is in milliseconds. So if I wanted it to wait 5 seconds, I could put 5,000 here. If I wanted it to be 1 second, which is what I use, I'd put it at 1,000. So that is perfectly fine as far as how you set it up. It's all up to you. You can even do it to where it's when the focus changes or when you change out of the editor to another window. So like if you were switching back and forth between these two windows, then it would autosave. But I use the after a delay in 1 second. Now, when you get into React applications and things like that, it's useful a lot of times to turn this off because literally every time you stop, it's going to automatically save that file and it's going to update what's over here. And in a React app, if you don't have things finished out, you're going to have a ton of errors listed over here. So we've got this to where it updates and I can see it over here. But if you're working on a smaller screen, this takes up quite a bit of real estate. I've got 2 windows open here and I'm just switching back and forth between the two to see what I want to see. So there are easier ways to run your code and to see what's going on, but there's a big advantage to doing it over here. See, when you run your code over here, it's going to tell you what the output is, but it also gives you this index.js1, which tells us that on the index.js file, on line 1 is where it was told to do that. If it's an error, it's also going to include that information so that you know to look back at that particular line in your code, and it will tell you kind of roughly what's going on. Now, the interpreters for this stuff are not excellent. There will be times it'll tell you there's an error on a line that doesn't have any code. but it'll give you clues as to where you need to look in your code. It kind of gives you more of a pinpoint. So I'm wanting to do this without live server. And let's just say I want to be able to use my entire window here with my code editor. Well, if you have Node.js installed, which you can go down into your terminal and you can type in node-v, and it should give you a version number if you've got Node.js installed. So since I have Node.js installed and I'm inside this testing folder in my terminal here, I can do node index.js and it will run my code. But if you'll notice, it prints out hello, and then down here, because of the theme I have, it'll print out some time. Doesn't really give me any information about what line I'm on. That's a disadvantage of this, but it is possible for you to run your code this way. And it will work with tables and things like that. So if you have, like, we'll say let names array equal, and then I'm just going to have an array of names, then I can go here and I can do console.table and put names array in it. And when I come down here and I run node index.js, it'll print me out a little table down here too. But yet again, I don't have the line numbers, so it doesn't give me the advantage of that. So how can I do this to where I'm running it in one window and I get the line numbers for where things are going wrong or where things are going right? Well, there's another extension that I use called Quokka. And I'm going to pull up the page here. It's spelled kind of funny. It's Quokka.js. It's by Wallaby or wallabyjs.com. It has 2.6 million downloads. Now, a little caveat here. If you install this and you run almost any other command, it's going to talk like you need to pay money for it. You do not have to pay for the part I'm about to show you. Don't pay them unless you need the more advanced features. But for this function, you don't need that. So once you have that installed, we're going to go back over to our files here. Now, I can go down to this gear icon and go to command palette here. And what that's going to open up is a list of options for different plugins, extensions, things like that I can run. What I wanted to look for is Quokka. As I type in Quokka, you see all these different options pop up. This toggle start stop on current file is the option that we want. When you run that, it's going to show all of the different console logs, and it will also give you those line numbers. So I'm going to turn it on here, and I can see in blue here, it printed out my hello. Now I can also see that it did not print out anything from my table. It doesn't really do that. But down here in your terminal panel at the bottom, under the output tab, it's also using Node to run it, but it'll tell you the index number for things that just basically console out, and it'll draw any tables that you're trying to print out as well. Now, that's a big advantage when it comes to running this stuff. And it will actually kind of help you with troubleshooting as well. The light blue text here, though, you can't select. It is live updating. So if I switch this to back to hello world, it updates right there. And that can help you be able to see what your results are with one window and to play around with your JavaScript code without having to go back and forth. Now, in order to turn this off, you go right back to the command palette, and now Quokka and the toggle start stop should be in your recently used at the top. You just click it again, turns it off. You can even switch this back to terminal or turn it off. It's that easy to get around this. So that walks you through how to set up the files to link them together, how to use live server and download live server, how to use Node.js to run your files down in the terminal, and how to use Quokka in order to view a live update inside VS Code of what your code is doing. Now, the next step is for you to code something, code anything, and have fun with it. This ease of use makes it incredibly useful when you're learning new things to be able to see in real time what is happening with your code.